Hello there, world of tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Droodles Blitz, and in today's video, I'll be playing and reviewing the Object 268 version 4. This is a vehicle that I've had quite a few comments asking me to review because it's for sale right now. I wouldn't say it's the cheapest tank. We can take a look, and yeah, it's not cheap. It's 27,500 gold, and if you don't have 27,500 gold, you can also buy it for cash, but it's $44.99. So yeah, it's not a cheap vehicle. Either way, you're going to be spending $50 worth of gold or cash to get your hands on this tank. Is it worth $50? Well, I can't say $50 is a terrible deal for a tier 10. I remember way back when like the Chieftain Mark 6 and 121B first released, and Wargaming was charging upwards of $100 over and over for tier 10s. So $50 for a really solid tank isn't a terrible deal, but it's down to what you want to buy. I'm not going to suggest to buy this tank or not buy it because at the end of the day, it's your decision. I don't like to influence people's decisions on exactly what they should do with their money unless it's a really good deal, because I want you to feel happy with something you've purchased and not to get mad at me because I said this is a really good tank and you should buy it. So when it comes to the price tag, what I will say is that $50 is not awful for a tier 10. The cheapest you'll find is like $35 for the T95 E6, but apart from that, you're not going to find all too much cheaper for like the V4, so it's not an awful deal, but it's not great either. Now, when we take a look at the V4 itself, the main thing that you want to take a look at is this, the armor profile. This is what the V4 looks like against a 113's heat with calibrated shells. As we can see, you can penetrate the lower plate and the superstructure, but the 113 has pretty good pen, and let's say you're the average try-hard player that says, I don't need Cali, I'm going to run Gunrammer. Well, this is what the 268 version 4 looks like to a player running Gunrammer. Yeah, you can see the massive difference. The IS-7, even with calibrated shells, will have no chance of penetrating the front of this tank. But while it looks incredibly overpowered frontally, you do need to keep in mind the moment you start angling it, it becomes very easy to pen. I mean, that is an incredibly easy penetration angle. That's just standard ammo. If you load premium, yeah. This tank has no armor on the sides whatsoever. If you load heat, look at how weak of an angle that is. It's literally like 5 degrees to the side here and you can pen it. So the V4's armor is essentially very simple. If you decide to use the armor effectively, you have to make sure that there is nothing that can see even the slightest bit of your sides. You may think I'm joking when I say that the armor on this tank is literally only meant to be completely straight on, but I'm not. If you have anything that is high penetration aiming at your tank, your weakest spots is going to be the fact that you've over-angled it to the left or the right, and they're going to cut straight through your vehicle. I can tell you for a fact that some of the biggest threats to this tank are mediums that are able to take advantage of your weak sides, and more specifically, high alpha, high pen vehicles. Tanks like the VK72 or the T110E3. Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky circumstance. Now, my team is screwing me. That's what they're doing this game. They've said, you know what? We have 2 mediums, a T100LT and a 62A. Let's not drive them to base C, because that would be intelligent. No, we're gonna drive them to B. Alright, well, it looks like I'm going to be holding this on my own. Thankfully, we were able to get a pretty big hit into that TVP. And the great thing about the 268 version 4 is the fact that, first of all, mediums can't really pen it. And second of all, the mobility, at least in reverse, is fantastic. Being able to reverse away from your troubles is an incredibly underrated skill. And also, I seriously have no clue what that TVP thought he was going to accomplish doing that. But now we're going to push over here. We do have that VK72 off to the side, and you know what, we're going to shoot him for 2 reasons. A, that's a decent player, and B, it's free. I mean, that guy's going to die anyway, and we obviously know he's not much of a threat. So I am going to take a shot at somebody that's a threat rather than somebody that isn't. We got the 4005 off to the side over here, who it doesn't look like we're going to be able to get a shot into, although, never mind. I thought he was going to back down the hill, but instead he just kind of he kind of gave it to me. Now, as of right now, we haven't really showcased any of the 268 version 4's armor. We have definitely tried to, but nobody's shot at me. So maybe that'll change in a moment here. We got a lot of tanks left still, a VK-72 that's quite healthy, an E3, E6, and an IS-7. My 113's putting himself in a very, very problematic position. I don't know if that's really worth it, but we're going to start off by trying to get a bonk into you. There you go. And at this point, this is where we can hopefully do pretty good in the V4. Now, that E6 was not able to kill that player, but they are getting some very nasty positions down, and I'm not sure how much I really want to fight these tanks. We got the T110E3 right here, aiming, and a great example of, well, the pen's not bad on the tank, but it's definitely not great. It's not TD levels of pen. It's a heavy. That's essentially what the gun is. Think of your average heavy, and that's kind of what this vehicle's like. So we got the IS-7. He does manage to penetrate me, and yeah, that E3 just goes right through my armor. No problem whatsoever. But at least we are able to get a pretty big bonk into that IS-7. Now we're going to back up, and I'm hoping that he YOLOs me. That's really the best situation I have here, because this is where the armor will be a lot better in the V4. The IS-7 cannot pen this tank, like, really anywhere. So it will allow the V4 to do very well against him. But you'll notice our gun depression is awful. It's so bad, in fact, that I can barely even penetrate the IS-7's lower plate because I could barely see it. So once again, there is some yin and some yang when it comes to the 268 version 4. Now at this point, we're just going to try and get a pen into his tank, which we were able to right in the same spot we penned him last time. And with that, we have dealt a very, very solid 6,000 damage. So yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good battle for the 268 version 4. Did the armor work that well? I mean, yeah, it did work, but it didn't do all too much. Also, I'm sorry, I keep flicking my nose. I got like a cat hair stuck on it. So this game, I don't know if we bounced anything, to be real. Let's see, efficiency, statistics. I blocked 390. So out of all the hit points I lost this game, I bounced one shell, and that's right, it was the IS-7 rushing me. So this is a great example to showcase where the V4 does well, but where the armor wasn't even that mandatory that battle. We used our alpha to actually outtrade a lot of our opponents, and the decent mobility that it carries to quickly get into position. I was holding medium side, cleared the TVP, cleared the 4005, then got some shells out. We got the VK once, nuked the E3, cleared the IS-7. I mean, the V4 is a great tank. It definitely has massive capabilities on the battlefield, but that game was just a weird one because we didn't really get to showcase any of the capabilities you'd think would actually be shown on a tank like this. So here we are, second battle, 60 TP, Type 71, and a VK-72. Okay, that's three very solid heavies. That's almost unfair how strong their heavies are. Now, we have a WZ-113. We have a 60 TP. Okay, I mean, we have some tanks that are pretty decent as well. Medium side is going to be more important for us. We have more mediums than they do. In fact, we have a Vickers Light, we have a 4202, and we have an E50M. They only have two mediums, being a Prog and a 62A. So I'm hoping that our team takes advantage of the fact they have mediums, less mediums, and we can push. Our 113 is, so yeah, let's go. Let's see how this works out. Now, one thing I'll say about the V4 is I'm very prone to just dying in the tank, and what I mean by that is I play sometimes like the average 40%er in this vehicle, think I can push, and then get absolutely crapped on. That's one of the very, very scary things about this tank, is that you might think you're safe to push, and then you just get instantly nuked. So that is one downside of the V4. Now, speaking of the V4, we're up against one, and we can also see an enemy 60 TP. All right, well, let's aim it on the 60, although he was able to go, and we hit his freaking gun! I can't tell you how much I hate the 60 TP gun. It literally always eats the shell. It does not matter how skilled you are, your shell will always go into the 60 TP gun. It is so freaking angry. I also don't know where the grill is, which is, frustrating a bit, because I don't want to, you know, die to tanks that I can't really see. Let's see if we can get a shell into the Type 71. There you go, he bounced me. Doesn't look like we can get a shell back in, though, although... There you go. Nice slap in to the 60 TP. We can see the Type 71 is racist for no reason, because he can't pen me. What a skilled player. Ooh, boy. Alright, well, let's see if we can pen maybe the V4. No, unfortunate for me, especially because that Type 71 just YOLO'd out. Alright, well, their team is playing very aggressive, and I'm not really sure why, because this type has put himself in a terrible position, if you want my opinion. We're just gonna chill here for now. Maybe we can get a slap into that 60 again. Bonk. There you go. Look at that. 763 roll. That is crazy. And it really shows where the alpha on the V4 is just crazy good. People don't realize what, you know, hitting hard feels like until you play a tank like this. So we got the VK-72 over here. I'm not going to shoot, well, I was going to say I'm not going to shoot that VK. I'm going to let him get a bit more damage out, but I guess it doesn't matter. We get a nice HE into the rear of that Prog for 800, and with that, well, it's a pretty easy victory. We didn't do much damage. We didn't deal nearly as much as we did last battle, but we were still able to get out a pretty solid chunk this game, and maybe we're going to be able to get a hit into this girl. Come on. Let me get out a shot. Just one. Come on. Yes! Alright, well, not that bad. We did 2,884, and if we add on the 6,000 damage we did last game, that means we probably did about 4,000 with those two games averaged out. So not bad at all. So there's the 268 version 4. Again, we didn't bounce all too much, but we also didn't get shot at all too much. It's not a bad tank by any means. It's not the best tank in tier 10. I can tell you for a fact I can probably do better in a Concept 1B the majority of the battles, or even heck an IS-4, just because it has so much more hit points and even better pen. But the V4 is a strong tank, and it is a very viable tank if you want to have some fun, hit some big ol' slaps, and laugh down to your grave. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and if you'd like to see more like this, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!